everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have my August stats and wrap up. So we're going to jump right on in to the stats. I am very excited to say that I have read 15 books in August. This is one of my better months. It's actually the most amount of books that I have read in one month. We will get into the fact that a lot of them are comics, graphic novels, manga, that kind of thing, so they were a little bit quicker and easier to read. So the page number is not quite as much, but it tops the graph right now on like amount of books. As for the page number, we're at 3,223 pages, which is actually really good. I haven't been at 3,000 since February. January and February were like my best reading months of the year until like right now. And part of it again is because I was able to read a lot of shorter things, quicker things, but my goal in general is to get at least 2,000 pages, so the fact that I was able to get over that, I was super excited. Let's move into audiobooks. I did not do any audiobook listening in June or July because of the move, and so I have been doing it more lately. We don't drive as much, so I actually have been listening to them a little bit at home, which sometimes is hard to do because kids need things, but I have 6.7 hours worth of audiobooks right now for August, which is the lowest it's been besides the months I didn't do any, but at the same time I'm happy that we're getting back into that. Let's go to the reading method. I had 1 audiobook, 4 ebooks, and 10 physical books. That's the most my physical books has been in a while, but again, reading a lot of like graphic novels, comics, and manga. Then let's move into the genre. I read 8 horror, 3 paranormal, 2 contemporary, 1 thriller, and 1 fantasy. Definitely getting into those fall, creepy kind of months. The horror was definitely something I was into. For the book format, 7 were comics or graphic novels, 6 were manga, and 2 were novels. So yeah, like I said, lots of comics, graphic novels, and manga this month. 15 of them were traditionally published versus indie published. I know some of the comics and graphic novel stuff that I read could be an indie publisher. I still count them as traditionally published just because they are still quite big. So really I go by size. But yeah, 15 I counted as traditionally published. How I got it. 9 of the books were from my library. I have started using the library more frequently now. I do get all of my audiobooks through the library, but there's one pretty close to my house, like right near a farmer's market that we try to go to at least once a month. So I've definitely been doing that. 4 of them were books that I owned previous to this year. 1 was a book I bought this year, and 1 was an ARC. So overall, very happy with that. And then we have the age category. 12 of them were adult titles and 3 were young adult. So again, no surprises there. We are now going to get into the star ratings. I do feel like this was a pretty darn good month. I had 1 3-star, 2 3.5 stars, 4 4 stars, 1 4.5 star, and 7 5-star reads. Like again, I feel like this was a really good reading month. Maybe it was because I was actually getting into the things that I was reading. Yes, again, not as many novels as I would normally do, but I still love my comics, graphic novels, and manga, and so yeah, I think that was a really good amount. We are now going to get into the actual star ratings. We are going to start with my lowest, which was a 3, not necessarily horrible, and move all the way up to my favorite book of the month. So the 3, and I guess we're also going to go into one of the 3.5s because they're both in the same series, was Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo. This is a book that I will talk more about in a vlog that will be coming up soon, but I gave the first volume 3 stars and the second volume 3.5 stars. This is about a guy who is a spy, and in order to do one of his spy jobs, has to create a family and infiltrate a like private school, so he ends up adopting a girl who can apparently read minds, and then he also needs to find a wife, and he ends up finding a wife who is an assassin. he doesn't know about the reading minds or assassin part though, and they don't know these other things about themselves necessarily. I thought the concept of this sounded very, very intriguing. However, I do think this potentially is just something that's not for me. It comes off as very silly sometimes, and so while we have a spy and they're talking about like political organizations and trying to spy for the other side and that kind of thing, one of the jobs that we start off with at the very beginning of volume 1 is the fact that like the spy is stealing pictures of some guy's wig. Like they're fighting over if this guy has a hairpiece or not, and I don't know, the vibe of it is a little bit different. I did like volume 2 better than volume 1, but I don't know if I necessarily see myself continuing in this series. So that technically took us through a 3 and a 3.5, so we had one more 3.5, and that is going to be The Nice House on the Lake by James Tynion IV. So I love some of James Tynion IV's stuff. This is shiny because it's the library copy, so it has like a cover on it, and this is the deluxe edition. It has the entire The Nice House on the Lake series in here. This is like a 400-page book. I'm very, very intrigued by this still. It is a 3.5. It was very slow. This is billed as horror, and yes, I do feel like some of the stuff in here could be horrific. It's also sort of dystopian and sci-fi, but I'm still so confused about it. This volume is the entire thing. However, it does say, I think, to be continued or something like that in the back, and there is going to be a new second season sort of thing called The Nice House by the Sea, and I don't know how to feel about that either because we didn't get enough answers in here. I was super intrigued by the concept. Yes, it is horror. I really love this author's work. There's a lot of other things that I've read, and we're going to talk about more later because I read more this month, that I really do love, but I was confused by it. I do also think part of it is the art style. One, not necessarily my thing, but also too confusing, and I think part of it is it has this like dark, scratchy, weird sort of tone. I'm trying to find a page that's not gonna like give anything away too much, but like I like the tone for it, but because of the way that they did it and what they picked for the art style, I was confused on who was who a lot. This also starts off with like, instead of the characters having names, we get these like, they do have names, but we get their like occupation first, and that's how they're referred to a lot. So I was confused for a lot of it. It also is very slow to start, and then we didn't get enough answers for me. This is a 3.5 where I do want to continue. I really am curious about The Nice House by the Sea. However, I will probably wait until it's in an edition like this because of the way that this story was told. I really needed this entire thing to like fully grasp my mind around it and figure out what I thought of it. And even then, like I said, I needed more from it. So I gave it a 3.5. I think this is my lowest rated James Tynion IV book, but still, it's a very intriguing concept. Okay, now we're gonna move into 4 stars. So I have 3 4 stars. We're gonna talk about 2 first, as well as the 4.5. I have The Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe. So this is one that you guys voted for me to read. This is the deluxe edition again, so it has 3 volumes in one. And I gave the first 2 volumes 4 stars. And then I really liked volume 3 a lot. It wasn't like a full 5 stars for me, but I gave it a 4.5. This is a very intriguing series, again, because we don't have a ton of answers. I'm looking for more from it, but I think it is something that we will have to read more, and there is more from this. I think this is a completed series, potentially. I started it late, but I really love the sort of like cute, simplistic art style, and the fact that we do have this girl who is sort of on the other side with this sort of demon character guy here, but he is like the only one realistically trying to protect her from some of the weird happenings that are going on. We don't exactly know what it is, but there's some sort of curse that is available to happen on the other side, and this is something that is like looked at as obviously a bad thing. I'm very curious about like the characters and the character motivations and everything that is happening here. I will say they do introduce some more religious, political, like together almost things into this, which is not necessarily my favorite, but it's not heavy-handed yet, so we'll see how that goes. But that is to say that after 3 volumes of this, I am very intrigued to continue, and I did think volume 3 brought us into the world a little bit more, and I was liking that one a little bit more than 1 and 2, but they're still great starts. Because of everything that I read this month, we're going to be skipping back and forth a little bit. We're still trying to go in order. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is The Blonde Dies First by Jo Wellington. This is my top 4 stars, so we are skipping one that I'm going to put with my 5 stars in just a little bit because it goes together. But this was the book that I read as an arc. And it was very intriguing. I gave it a 4-star because I did still want a little bit from it. But overall, we have a girl named Devin and her group of friends. Her twin sister is very, very smart, is going to be graduating early, and they want to have like the best summer ever. But after a Ouija board sort of situation, there is like this demon coming to kill them. And it's not even just that, it's sort of trying to follow movie rules. And so they do talk a lot about, like, they mentioned Scream, and it felt very Scream-like, where there's these rules that you have to follow, and they're really trying to follow that, and like each person is a character, a stereotype from this kind of stuff. But besides that, we do have a lot of very paranormal, horror, demonic, killer activity. I really did like the vibes of this and like sort of where it was going. I would really think it would fit really well with like a movie, maybe even a TV series, like a short TV series. And I had a lot of fun with it. I do think it got a little bit slow in certain parts and reiterated a little bit too much the sort of movie characterization, who is who and what is like what they're doing. But I personally really like Scream. I liked that it did have that in there. It just wasn't a full 5 stars for me. I did like this one a lot. I think a lot of people will like this one. It just needed to move on a little bit quicker, but besides that, like, it was really, really fun. Okay, like I said, we're going to be talking about some 5 stars now, but we're also going to talk about the 4-star I had as well. But let's just use that to say that I read some more Jane Austen in the 4th books. I ended up reading House of Slaughter Volume 1, as well as Something is Killing the Children Volumes 4, 5, 6, and 7. These are all ones that I borrowed from my library. I do want to own them because I have the first 3, and I just saw them at my library and was like, you know what, instead of spending $15 to $20 per volume myself, I'm going to borrow them. House of Slaughter is mine. I did buy this at a used bookstore for a very good price last year sometime, I want to say. And so these are all in the same world. House of Slaughter is sort of a prequel to this new character arc that is going to be happening. So volumes 1 through 3 of Something is Killing the Children is one arc, and we basically end at volume 3. I gave all of those books 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I really, really love the series. It is very dark and graphic and horror, and Something is Killing the Children. Just keep that in mind. And so the next one that you should read after that is volume 4. Now, volume 4 is also a prequel. This is sort of the beginning of Erica Slaughter, who is our main character in the series, and it does feel like a step away from everything that is happening. However, I really did like this one a lot because it is sort of showing us where she came from and the people that are important to her in her life, and it does have a lot of like very important background information, so I gave this one a 5-star. Then after that, I read House of Slaughter. This is not following Erica. Like I said, it's another sort of like prequel to what is happening here. It happens after volume 4, but before the events of even the beginning of Something is Killing the Children, and I liked what happened here, especially in relation to what happened in Something is Killing the Children, so I gave this one a 5 as well. The House of Slaughter ones go back and forth between the Butcher storyline and a different sort of like smaller, shorter stories, and so I'm not as intrigued by the shorter ones. They have much lower ratings, so my library didn't have volume 3, which is another Butcher book, but I think I am going to be trying to at least get those and read those as well. And then after that, starting in volume 5, 6, and 7, this is a new story arc, new character arc for Erica. So I gave volume 5 stars. I absolutely love the introduction of this new character arc. There were some very hard-hitting things in here because, again, Something is Killing the Children. I really, really love this one. Volume 6 is the 4-star. This is one that felt like a middle book to me. It just didn't quite live up to everything that else that has been happening, because I actually gave volume 7 5 stars. So like every single other volume in this series, I gave 5 stars except for volume 6. It's not necessarily to say that it's bad, but it felt like middle book syndrome. It felt much slower. We didn't have as much interesting information or even character development in this one. So yeah. And then, like I said, volume 7, it's upside down. Volume 7, I did give 5 stars again, because again, I really, really loved how everything came together, the conclusion to this arc. I don't want to be done with this series, and I think it even said to be continued, so I don't know if that means we're going to have another arc or not, but there is a volume 8 supposed to come out later this year. However, from my understanding, it is short stories set in this world, not a continuation of Erica's storyline. So I'm very curious about that. We shall see, but I love these so, so much. Then my next 5 stars is Ali by Junji Ito. This one actually came out at the very end of July. Didn't get shipped to me until August because of a weird mix-up with manga stuff, but almost as soon as it came in, I had to read it. It is his newest collection of short stories. I gave it a 5 stars. I just absolutely loved these ones. They were very creepy and weird, and his art style fit it perfectly. I know Junji Ito is hit or miss with some people, but like I absolutely love these ones. A lot of them were just like, I did not want to put this book down because I was so enraptured by like what exactly, like what the heck was happening. Like it was just so good. The next one that I read that is 5 stars is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Hovarth. So again, I read this as one whole collection. I borrowed this from my library. I read this because of Ashley from Realm of Comics. I saw that she had posted like an Instagram story about this for like the very first issue, and it was basically like, what the heck did I just read? And it mentions even in the summary on Goodreads for this that it's basically like Richard Scarry's Busy Town meets Dexter. And let me tell you, what the heck did I just read? It was so good. Again, this is very weird and dark and bloody and gory, and because of the fact that it has like the animals as the main character, like Richard Scarry's sort of stuff, it is very like animal death. Like it's hard to explain because of the fact that they are anthropomorphized, so they are basically humans but animals as well. So just keep that in mind if you're looking into this. There are a lot of trigger warnings and stuff, but it is basically about a bear who is living in this town. She runs like the hardware store, and for years she has been going from her quiet town to a big city and killing people there so that nobody knows in her town, and like everybody looks up to her like this like nice, important, friendly figure. And then she comes to town one day and everything's quiet like normal, like this is her perfect, like I'm just gonna live in my quiet little town. And then somebody from town is murdered, and it obviously was not her, and it just goes from there. And it is literally, I could not put it down. I read every single issue that made up the one big comic. My library had issues, so I read the issues, but it is out now as like a big volume as well. I think it's out now, or at least it will be coming out soon as one big volume. I could not put it down. I read everything back to back to back to back because it is so out there and weird, but I literally could not put it down. I loved it so, so much because of that. Like it's so Richard Scarry Busy Town meets Dexter. Like that is literally what you're going to get. Look into the content warnings if you want to, but like it was wild. It was a wild ride. And then we are actually at the last book that I read for August, my favorite book of the month, although I feel like Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees could also be the favorite book of the month. However, I read a novel that was so, so good. I always end up putting the novels first for my favorites just because they usually take a longer time to read and have a little bit more like substance for feelings for me. But it's going to be The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This was a 12 books, 12 friends pick by Sam's Bookish Faves over on Instagram. And I absolutely love this one. This was something that wasn't exactly on my radar for me, and I think it was partly because it is sort of historical fiction. It is slightly magical, but it wasn't something that I was ever like actually intrigued by. I did listen to this one on audiobook, and I now need a copy for my shelves. I really, really love this one. I love the characterization. I did actually really like the atmosphere and the writing style. Again, when it first started, not necessarily my thing. Like, if I was gonna just read a page or two of this at the very beginning and tell you, is this my thing? Is this something that I would read? Probably not. However, I really, really love this one. It does have sort of like a mystery going on with it throughout the story, because our main character of June is basically just told that, like, at a certain point in time, the women in her family go crazy, and she doesn't know exactly how or why or when it's going to happen for her. She is 33 or 34 in this story when this starts to happen, and she realizes that, like, she's hearing and seeing things that are not necessarily there, and there's more going on for this, obviously, but at the heart is like a real question for her of, like, is she going crazy? What happened to her mother, who's been missing since she's basically been born, and like all these kind of things. I will say, I guessed every single reveal. I don't think this book was trying to go for like a plot twist or reveals in a surprising way, because even though they had, this is what happened, here's the reveal for this, I guessed everything, but that never took me out of the story at all. Like, I was just happy that I got it right, but I think it was very much foreshadowed a lot in a way that, like, obviously you should know what's going on, and it was more for the characters than us, but I was really rooting for all of the characters that we had. Like, I really, really found myself enraptured by this story, and again, it's something that I would not have necessarily picked up for myself, so I was super, super happy that I read it. And favorite novel of the month, let's just say, because if I was going to pick another one, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees was a standout as well, because it was something, again, was never on my radar, could not put it down. For basically both of those, was never on my radar, could not put it down. And yeah, I think I had a really, really good reading month this month in August. So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about that, really. I had some really, really good reads, and I'm very, very happy about that. I'm hoping to get more into novels going into September, because again, I feel like that has been a little bit slow, but we're getting back into reading, which is great because I missed it quite a bit. And so that is going to be it from me today. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye!